Starting this agenda? Are you starting this agenda? Pepe is better than Giggs? Do you seriously think Pepe is better than Ryan Giggs?
Yes, I do.
What the fuck is wrong with you? Are you sniffing shit? Are you high? Are you on fucking crack? Are you on meth? Are you taking those motherfucking mushrooms? Like, what the fuck is wrong with you?
Believe it or not, in 2 years, 2 to 3 years, Pepe will be the best right winger in the Premier League.
Stop it. Get some help.
What's up, guys? Welcome to another episode of the Bopcast. Thank you for all your support on last week's video on Rafa Nadal being the GOAT. If you haven't seen it, definitely go check it out. It's probably one of our best videos to date. And today we're going to be talking about Harry Maguire and Nicolas Pépé, two of the biggest memes in football right now. And we're going to be debating who is the bigger disappointment given their price. And so we're both going to give our takes individually, and then we'll start open debate. And so, Toby, why don't you go first? Tell me why you think Pépé is a lesser disappointment given his price tag.
Yeah, so I definitely think Pepe has been, the slander against Pepe has been a bit, unfair to him because although his stats, his goal, his, end product and his goal and assist tally hasn't been, what you would expect a $72 million player is, it was still a rather decent return. He had 18 goal and assists in 44 games. And, in comparison to that, to players like Son, Riyad Mahrez in their first season at their new clubs, it was really similar. Son had 13 goal contributions in 40 games, and Mahrez at Man City even he only had 21 in 43 games. And if you even look at the underlying stats, Pepe he's shown to be produced more. He has 2.3 dribbles per game, and he had 1.3 key passes. I just think that Pepe, I think if he gets used in the right system and he gets used more often, he actually ends up starting more often. I think over time you'll get to see the goal tally and the assist tally go up. And he has been our second most creative player this season. He's second in key passes, only behind Ozil. And he also and I also think that he's had his own struggles trying to come into the team with that. We had 3 different managers throughout the season. Emery, obviously, then Lundberg, and now Arteta. And having to deal with not only just a dysfunctional team that came 15th in chances created last season, and having to deal with different language barrier. And I see a lot of particularly Man U fans liking to slander Pepe a lot more heavily than other rival fans. And I find it funny because Pepe, even in the Premier League 1920, Pepe had 5 goals and 6 assists in 24 games, which was a better goal and assist tally than even Ryan Giggs in the treble season.
Stop.
Which Giggs only had 3 goals and 2 assists.
Wow, are you starting this agenda? Pepe is better than Giggs?
Well, I'm just explaining facts, he had a beautiful goal. Don't get me wrong. He had a beautiful goal in the FA Cup.
You're saying words, but they don't mean anything.
Well, it's facts, though. Pepe was much, in terms of end product, Pepe that season was much better. And if fans are gonna seriously judge this based on end product, look at Pepe based on end product, you have to judge Giggs the same way, at least for that season.
First of all, I can't believe you just compared Nicolas Pépé to Ryan Giggs, one of the greatest wingers that the Premier League has ever seen. I can't believe you've just done that. I'm at a loss for words. Well, I have to move on with my argument, so we'll have to address that later. But the reason I think Maguire is okay, he's the biggest meme in football, especially on football Twitter. But if you actually look at the stats from last year and try to look at our situation in an unbiased manner, like you can tell that he improved our team a lot. So last year, Man United kept the most clean sheets out of any team in Europe's top 5 leagues. The most clean sheets. And then, if you look at just the Premier League alone, if you look at open play goals allowed, we were last or first, however you look at it, and that we only allowed 18 goals from open play, which is even fewer than Liverpool. So, as you can see, our defense was not poor by any means. And, like, Maguire is the easiest target because of his facial structure and because of the fee that we paid for him. And, like, obviously he's not worth 80 million, but if you honestly believe that he hasn't tremendously improved our defense, and some people are legitimately trying to tell me that he's like a terrible defender, he shouldn't even start on Man U. Like, sure, maybe he doesn't deserve the captaincy, but as a center back, he's certainly not terrible. I don't get this agenda that people are pushing that Maguire is somehow a terrible center back based on a run of like 2 games. Like if you look at the stats from last year, right? He's top 3 in passes. He's top 5 in interceptions. Van Dijk wasn't even in the top 5. He's top 3 in aerials won, ahead of Van Dijk. He's number 1 in progressive distance carried. He's had a higher successful pressure percentage than Van Dijk, which is just the percentage of time your squad has gained possession within 5 seconds of applying pressure. He's had more shots blocked than Van Dijk, and he's had 1 fewer error leading to an opponent goal. Van Dijk had 2 and he only had 1. And that's you see Maguire slated for this all the time, how he makes so many errors and social media loves to go off. But if you actually look at the stats, like he hasn't been that bad. It's just that he's so memeable that he just gets exposed a lot on Twitter, and it keeps pushing this agenda against him. The one thing that I will say against Maguire is that he's so slow that he gets dribbled past like so often. He's gotten dribbled past last year 22 times compared to 9 by Van Dijk. And as you know, that's literally 99% of the clips that you'll see against Maguire is clips of him like falling down and stumbling or getting getting shown up. And like no player is perfect. Like maybe Van Dijk is as close to of a perfect center back as you can get. Maguire's biggest weakness is his pace for sure. But when our manager chooses to play a high line, pushing our center backs all the way up the field against teams who are willing to sit back and hit us on the counter, he's going to get exposed. He's going to get dribbled past a lot of times. Like that's his weakness. But you can't just ignore all his strengths, which, like I said, are quite significant, and clearly significantly impacted our team.
There was one point that you brought up that was very interesting to me. Like you brought up the point, like okay, like you acknowledge the fact that he gets dribbled past quite a bit. But the difference between when other defenders get dribbled past is that okay, might get dribbled past, but it's not in a dangerous area or in an area in which it's going to lead to a goal. There was multiple examples in this, like against Wijnaldum, against Traore, against Steven Bergwijn, against Chris Wood from Burnley, in which he's like, when Maguire got dribbled past, it led to a goal.
Yeah, he does, and that's like, he's definitely not the perfect center back, but like, who is the bigger disappointment based on the price that we paid for? So, I mean, Pépé and Maguire both are at the top of – they both broke the record for most expensive defenders and wingers, right? But if you actually look at the impact they made, like, what did Pepe do? He's literally getting benched by William right now. Arsenal scored 17 fewer goals last season when he came than the year before when he wasn't there. Like, he doesn't even make it into the starting side half the time. Maguire
Okay,
literally contributed to making to our team letting in the fewest open play goals and like maintaining the most clean sheets in Europe, while De Gea had such a terrible season. I mean, compared to the De Gea that we know, he was terrible.
I like how you're bringing up other players around them as if Pepe wasn't affected by the lack of creativity in the midfield. We were literally 15th in created chances. Before the Watford game, we were
Who did you
7th.
who did you have
Come on.
before? Who did you have?
Ozil did he barely play?
Ozil.
He
Ozil
played
hasn't started
less than half
like
the
10
season.
years.
But Ozil played less than half the season and still had the most created chances. Still created the most chances in the team. Pepe had nothing to feed off. He obviously couldn't score. He had I think it was like 1.5 shots per game. That is pathetic. And you expect him to score. You expect him to score 20 goals this season? Of course not. You can look at Leicester's defense as well. Leicester's defense still conceded less goals with Soyuncu than they did with Maguire.
But Soyuncu is a top center back. I mean that makes sense. I mean, of course, Leicester, like, they deserve props for developing him and making him a great center back. But that doesn't mean Maguire didn't improve our team significantly.
But you can make the same. Okay, wasn't your team? Didn't you have Ashley Young, Eric Bailly?
Yeah,
Who else was in your team? Like Phil Jones
Valencia,
and Valencia.
Pauling,
And that
yeah.
team conceded 28. So 28 goals under Mourinho in 17-18. Does that mean that those four defenders are great?
No, but if you
And I
look,
feel like-
if you look at their individual stats too, like, they weren't great individually. And like you said, like this is what I mentioned in the Ole video. Like, the difference in play style is also tremendous. That Ole has no idea what he's doing and pushes his center backs all the way up the pitch. And so, like, Maguire, like I said, and Lindelof too, are literally exposed and put in positions that, like, they're destined to fail. And even in spite of that, Maguire still succeeded.
I think you're also undervaluing the fact that you brought in two. You spent $130 million, not on one defender, but two.
Well,
You also brought in Aaron Wan-Bissaka, who you guys believe is the best defensive right back
he
in
is.
the league.
I don't think he's a bad player. Like, I definitely think he's good. But, I mean, clearly Arteta doesn't trust him enough to play 33-year-old Chelsea reject Willian over him.
Yeah, I agree. Pepe does lack a lot of consistency, and I'll be honest, I'll be a fair person.
He's one-footed.
Even before he signed for Arsenal, I had my own individual doubts. I thought he was a bit one-footed. He came from a counter-attacking system, and I just didn't think he was going to necessarily adapt to the Premier League as fast as people hope. And I think I was proven right by his first season at Arsenal. But there's one thing that Pepe has shown me that he has, but he does have the talent to become a great player. Like, if you look at his individual some of his individual performances against teams like Liverpool, it's literally his second start. He had 7 dribbles that game against having to go on the right-hand side against Liverpool's left-hand side, which is supposed to be the strongest, against Van Dijk and Robertson. He had 7 dribbles against those two, and he had created 2 chances. He created our best chances throughout the match. You look at his impact, coming off the bench against Vitoria, in which he scored 2 free kicks a game. It's literally only been done around 10 times this last decade. And this guy you can see is how the beautiful curlers he was able to score from there. You can see that against Sheffield, that was one of our worst games as a team. If you go on who scored, they would say I believe some of the ratings were 5.5 to 6.5. Pepe's was in the 8s.
I mean, yeah, like I said, I don't think he's bad. I mean, I think I think both of these players are memed and disrespected too much. But if you just look at the impact that each of them have had, I agree that maybe Pepe hasn't had the best of scenarios with 3 different managers. But if you just look at the pure impact so far, I mean, you have to say Maguire is definitely. All right, guys. Well, let us know if you enjoyed this video. Let us know who you agree with in the comments. And make sure to subscribe, hit the bell for notifications, and we'll see you in the next